Hey guys, welcome to Wealth Wisdom Financial. If you noticed, I'm not here with my lovely wife Amanda. Here we got Chris here. Uh, you know, I would say my wife is a little better looking.
I was
No
going to say, I
offense.
don't think I can really compete. You set me up to
Yeah,
fail here.
yeah. So Chris, I've been around real estate for quite a while, and when we talk to people, your name is all over the place. People know who Chris is, and I don't think it's just because um, you have awesome programs or anything like that, but it's because you've been doing things for a while. So and have some great stories to back it up. But before we go into the interview, I want to introduce who you are, because a lot of people maybe they've heard the name, but they don't know who Chris is. They've seen a book or two. So what Chris is he is the four-time best-selling author of Real Estate on Your Terms, The New Rules of Real Estate Investing, and Sell with Authority for Real Estate Investors. He's also the founder and chairman of Wicked Smart Companies and host of the Smart Real Estate Coach podcast. He also works with my mentor quite regularly, Mark Willis. And so I know he believes in the power of mentoring and the power of community, because he has his own community and those people are amazing. Now what I really want to talk about with him is, and he shares this in his book, that the crash of '08 and other things that happened, that a lot of times we look at Chris here and say, man, he already made it, he's amazing, and they don't look at the things under what made them, the challenges, the obstacles, how they overcome those obstacles. Now Chris had in 2008 a huge crash in his real estate world, and also some I think similarly or around that time, some challenges at family with an accident and stuff that probably shook you in quite a way. And so I want to take us back into that, and what are you doing differently, and what can you teach young people who think that there's nothing like going to happen again. So take it away, Chris. This is amazing. I'm excited for you to be here. Let's have a great conversation.
Yeah, you bet. So, you want me to peel back which piece of that first, so I don't get
Yeah. So first, like let's talk about Chris before he was the smart real estate coach. Like you weren't always uh, the guy running the show.
right.
You were in a place of, hey, I need to learn. And our theme of this month is deal making.
Okay.
So a lot of people think that hey, I'm ready to do a deal, but maybe there's something else that needs to happen before the deal.
Okay. Very good. Yeah. So, I've been at this 32 years. So what I'll do is I'll give a little context to pre-crash on this deal making theme, because I did deals from 91 all the way to the crash of '08 in my brain, thinking I was doing them right, or I wouldn't be doing them.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
what happened during the crash is, like a light switch was thrown, funding stopped, anything I had under agreement or in construction or any kind of a deal, I was on a personal bank loan. And I'll talk about later why that doesn't happen anymore. But because of
Hmm.
that, when the market dropped anywhere from 10% to 2/3, 60 something percent, and that happened on one of my projects, then all those banks came looking for me. So the crash was not a fun time for anyone, but certainly not for me. Now, the pivot we made, Brandon, big time,
Hmm.
is when I was so brain dead mentally, not just financially, mentally too,
Hmm. Yeah.
that I said, I don't know if I'm going to even get back into it. My wife's going, what do you mean? Like, come on, let's get back at it. And so it took 4 years, from February of '08 till February of 12, for me to get in my own head, stop blaming myself, reach out to mentors to say, look, what happened when you went to this? How can I get? So a bunch of people helped me get out of that mentally to get doing deals again. But I needed to define the rules, if you will. And the
Hmm.
rules were, we're not signing on bank loans anymore, because that was a headache.
Yeah.
and please, if you're listening, I don't care if your credit's the best it can be. I don't care if it's over 800. Do not sign on bank loans. And the only exception is maybe if there's a special house for you and your family that you got to buy in a certain neighborhood and you can't get, creative financing on. Okay, maybe we'll do that. Other than that, do not. The other rule was we're not going to borrow private money. We're not basically taking any loans to do deals. So
Yeah.
it required no credit and no banks. I had neither, so that was the pivot I had to make back in 08, coming out of the 08 crash. You mentioned Nick, my son. In 03, Nick had a snowboard accident. So if you're a parent, if you could picture this, he was a young teen. I think he was like 13 then. Yeah, maybe 14. He went off a snowboard jump on a very icy day, on a day with a school that he didn't have a helmet on. And so he had multiple head injuries. They had to intubate him on the hill, meaning put an oxygen down his throat. They had to airlift him, but it was too windy, so they had to do that procedure and then bring him to the hospital. He was in a coma for a month. Life had to go on. Unfortunately, for a lot of people who have life events like this, life had to go on. My wife would go during the day, and I'd go at night. We didn't see each other. We were just with him. So that was thrown at us in 03. And I just share that for this reason, Brandon, not to go too deep, and I can if you want later. But the fact is that whether the market changes or whether you have a life event or whatever goes on, you still have stuff, whether it's your mortgage or whatever it is, it has to go on, and you got to find a way to pivot and survive. And so we kind of did that. And so I'll take a deep breath with that. I don't know if you want to go back to any piece of that. I'm happy to.
Yeah, I will say, and this is kind of my story. I remember when we had our coffee shop. This was in 2012, and everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Right, miscarriage. Our marriage was challenged. Our cat died. My appendix removed. My mother-in-law had a stroke.
Couple
I think
curveballs.
just a few, and then you're still having to do payroll. I have a
Right.
business, and people are asking, "How's it going?" And from a client services point of view, you don't want to say, "Well, life it sucks."
Right.
That doesn't like bring people coming back for coffee.
Right.
So life still goes on. How did you overcome that? Because a lot of times in our world, we say, "Oh, I'm a victim. This happened. I'm going to stay that way.
Yeah.
Poor me."
Yeah.
How did you change from a victim? Because things do happen, and change into a different way. What
The
got you
word,
out of it?
yeah, the word that comes to mind is exposure. Because if I think back, that's what changed my mindset. A couple of people, I can think of some comments. One person said to me, "Chris, you didn't take down the market." So in a life event, you might say, "You didn't cause this it happened to you. It is what it is."
Yeah.
I used to say the vendors, the banks, people don't care. They frankly don't. You got to find a way to survive. So get around other people that have gone through similar. You can't find like, "Hey, did your son have a snowboard injury?" and go in a coma. But you can say, "Have you had some life events, and how can I pivot with this?" I had a real estate gentleman, very, very big, heard what I went through and said, literally chuckled and said, "That's nothing. Here's what I went through." And it made it sound like, oh my gosh, this is really nothing that I went through. And he gave me some advice. So, and another one said to me, "Look, 10 years, Chris, I don't care if it takes you 20 years. You go to all the people that you're dealing with, you go to all the vendors, you go to all the creditors, and you say, 'Look, I'm going to do whatever it takes to stay with you,' and you communicate with them." So I just got advice like that nonstop. The word is exposure to people that have been where you want to go. By the way, to your point, Brandon, if you want to find people that have you can find that too. And you can stay with your head. We just had a big event here. We do 2 a year. There are people in that audience that came up to me and said, "Yeah, I had that problem," and they gave me all the reasons why they're still stuck. And I said, "You're going to change it." Like, this blew me away. You're talking 14, 15 years ago, and you got to get out of it. So anyway, yeah, exposure.
Yeah. And I do think, when you find a good mentor who has had arrows in their back is kind of what I think. They've been through some things, but they've gotten back up, and the ones that have gotten back up and moved forward is the key. Now, bank loans. Can you explain what bank loans are for people that don't know? And they might be saying, "Oh, but what are the bad ones and what are the good ones to be looking for?"
So anything. I don't care what loan you take out for a property anyway. We're talking deals technically here, right? In this theme.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a real estate deal, and it could be your own house, and you take out a bank loan, you go get a mortgage, they give you the money, they approve you, and they give you the money for the loan. You are signing personally on that. That means if the bank literally changes their mind on some banks, if they get bought out, if the economy dives and their criteria change, they don't want to hold your loan. I could keep going on. They can call your loan. Call your loan means they're coming after you for it.
Yeah.
I had a project as a quick reference that we were selling condominiums out of this 6-unit building. We bought the building, we made them into condos. We were selling them for 172 grand. We sold 2 or 3 right away like hotcakes. In February of 12, when this pivot took place in the financial markets, that particular city in Rhode Island, in that particular building, I could not sell them to save my life for $55,000. So why does that relate to the loan question you asked? Because now what's the bank doing? Right, Chris, how are you going to pay this back? And that you're on it personally. So that road took me a lot of years. Some of them went till a few years ago because I made true to all my obligations. You do not want to sign personally on bank loans. And again, I know people come up to me at events and on podcasts and go, yeah, but the bank's going to let me get 4 loans with them, government loan. It doesn't matter what they're going to let you do. Do not do it. So how do you do it, by the way? You buy it owner financing or subject to existing financing without getting too deep. The building I'm standing in, Brandon, right now is a commercial building. If you bought this building with a bank loan, first of all, the underwriting process would be grueling to get you approved for the loan. You need 25 or 35% down. It's on a major road. And I bought it owner financing. I dealt with the owner in this very office that I'm standing in. It used to be his office. And it took us about 20 days to close it instead of 120 days or 80 days, whatever it would take with a bank if you get approved. So big difference.
And when you have owner financing, like I know you're a huge proponent of profit first and infinite banking.
Yep.
How is that? And again, people think they know what profit first is. They think they know what infinite banking yourself is. How has that changed or allowed you to make bigger deals along with the coaches and guides and people? But how has that amplified what you are doing?
Couple things. So those are both great. Like profit, I'll go profits first. And that is we both know Mike well. He's awesome. And when we started Profits First, we did it for one reason, sort of a budgetary reason. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Profits First, let me describe it this way: $1 comes in the door, and I call it a system of buckets. And one bucket might get 20 cents, one bucket might get 10 cents, and those buckets you're going to set up with the help of the Profits First system. But we use it because any business owner goes through this. If you don't do that, we found it the dollars come in, the dollars going out. I'm going, what happened here? There's no profit. There's no, at least cash. And the bills aren't getting paid. What's going on? So it's a system to keep you budgeted, in my opinion, and to place discipline around putting things in buckets so that a year later when your taxes are due, or a year later when there's an expenditure due, or a year later when you want to make a capital improvement to a building or whatever it might be, the money's there. Literally, you know it's there because you budgeted it. That's from the Profits First side. From the banking yourself, infinite banking side, I did a bunch of stuff with it. We set up on a corporate level with our mutual friend Mark, whereby the company had the policies so that they could build up our own bank, our own line of credit. We were borrowing money, expensive. And we said, well, shoot, 3 years from now, we could have $500,000, which we did, built up on these policies, and we can borrow from ourselves. That was really, really cool. I also used it to do some planning. I set my grandkids up, my wife and I, I've got, 7 or so of these policies. So that's how we've used them. There's different ways, as you know.
So what for you, as you've been in the other side, what have you seen the biggest hiccups of people kind of saying, oh, I like that, but what are the things that stop people from using the system? Or I don't know, like you said, the 2008 people who are still in 2008, 15 years later. What changed for you?
Yeah, I'm taking some notes because a couple things that came to mind when you said that. First, just like structurally, what scares some people, because I try to help employees and students do this, is I think some people assume you got to have all kinds of money to start. You don't. I have a policy with my grandkids that I think it's $100 a month. And by the way, if someone hears that and their knee jerk is, I can't do that yet, You just screamed loudly why you need to do it. Okay, you need to
Yeah.
fix that. And I'm sorry if that's hard for some people, but you need to fix that. There's a way for you to do it. The second thing I wrote down as you said that is their why. Why do I say that? Um, if someone has a huge burning emotional reason to do what they're doing, I'm calling it a why, then
Yeah.
they'll find a way. If they don't, they'll do what you and I alluded to earlier. They'll go find someone to have a pity party with. It won't be
Yeah.
conscious, maybe, but they will.
Yeah.
So if you have a huge burning desire, you obsess over, I just heard Brandon say this. How can I find out how to make it work? No, I can't do that. You'll
Yeah.
find a way, because if without your why happening, it's negative, or it's detrimental to you. Find you got to have one first, right? A why, but after that, find a way to obsess and get it accomplished. That makes sense.
Oh yeah. I mean, again, thinking about combining real estate, profit first, and the infinite banking concepts is just it is amazing, right? And then knowing what I've learned, and frankly, going through pain, has helped, honestly. And a lot of times we want to avoid the pain, even the pain of I put in 100,000, and even into a profit first system, I put in 100,000 and it's broken up into different accounts, and I don't have that much. And you're like, well, it seems like it's a pain to experience it, but what it's doing is just building health in your business.
Yeah.
Uh, and I bet you, I would bet I've talked to you and your team, is I bet you could pull up your numbers and be able to find out exactly what you could do probably in an hour if you were able to do a deal. How do you keep track of that stuff, knowing there's so many moving parts and knowing like where you want to go, where you've been? Um, how do you keep track of it all? What have you
Just like
done to
every
keep
other,
that?
yeah, just like every other part of my life, I rely on people like you and Mark, and to have intermittent calls quarterly,
Mhm.
in my case, to say, because look, let me back up. If someone's a student of mine, I would suspect, or I would expect them to say, Chris, tell me what to do. I'll do it. Right. That would be ideal.
Mhm.
Tell me what to do. I'll
Yeah,
put the
yeah,
blinders on. I'll do it I'll follow you for 3 years, and I'll have a great experience. Okay. So when I'm the student, what do I want to do? Tell me what to do. And Mark says to me, all right, well, we should have a call every whatever. In my case, I like every quarter. And we should review where you are, what the goals are, and we're accomplishing them with this pathway of infinite banking. And
yeah,
and then I just do what he says. I don't a la carte it. I don't
yeah,
say, oh, thanks, and then go to my wife and say, he told me to do A, B, C. I'll just do half of B and all of C. I'm all set. That's
yeah,
what too many people do when they have a coach. It's not, you don't do what you feel good with. You do what they tell you to do. And let me just put a kind of a caveat to that. You and I have both helped people accomplish different things in our areas, but the same thing holds true. You've got to be 100% coachable, sure, but you've got to also
yeah,
be hanging out with what you and I talked about, a coach or a mentor or a community for that matter, who has done what you want to do. Super
yeah,
important, because there's
yeah,
too many people in your business and there's too many people in my business who are, let's just say, I'll pick a date. They're new since the crash, or
yeah,
even more scary, new since COVID. Well, guess what? When the market pivots, because it will, or when you have a life event, because you might, that's not going to be good for you. You need a
yeah,
mentor
yeah.
that's been through some storms. So I won't beat that in the death. I know you said it, but I want to put an explanation point on that.
Yeah, and I think like again for us in our relationship with Mark, we've known him for years. He is, and I do think a lot about the 80-20 rule. 20% of people make it, and the 80% don't, right? And you want to be around the 20% that are doing it, right? That are doing the efforts. And I know from what he does, he's like the 20% of the 20% of the 20%. Like, and I know, and I'm like, well, how do I learn from that?
Right.
And just model everything because apparently something was right, and not to say that life was easy because I've known him personally and you, and I know that things happen.
Right.
But again, in our Instagram world, we just want to show the Lamborghini and
Yeah.
say, oh, it's all up and to the right.
Yeah.
Not
And
always.
usually the Lamborghini is rented.
Right, right. How did you overcome the obstacle of I'm putting in this amount of money and I don't have all of it available immediately? What was the thinking for you that for a deal making that helped you overcome that piece?
Yeah, if I think back, and this was probably 4 years ago now, maybe five. I just think of the alternative. Like, okay, if you look back 10 years, I used 4 or 5, but if you look back 10 years and you thought back then, you probably said, "I want to do all these things," whatever it was for
Yeah,
you as a listener.
yeah,
Okay, I want to accomplish this, and I get these big dreams. Now, 10 years is a blink, and you
yeah,
think back, and I have just a gut check for everyone. Are you where you thought you'd be? And
yeah,
if the answer is not overwhelmingly yes, or I exceeded it, then okay, back to your question, when would like right now be a good time for a change? And that's all the way I looked at it. I said, okay, what's the alternative? The alternative is I'm still going to be borrowing money too expensive from banks. I'm talking about business now, not deals, because we don't
yeah,
borrow deals. But I'm
yeah,
still going to be in a position where that's not yet a stack of cash waiting for me. But if I can just put on autopilot, but here's the key: put it on autopilot an amount that won't crush you,
yeah,
right? You don't want to do it so then you stress every month, then you call Brandon going, oh, I got to change that. So I did the kids at $100, my grandkids. Do I ever think about it or even see it until someone like you asks me? No, don't even know about it. Don't. It's gone.
yep,
It goes into account, and some year they'll appreciate it.
yeah,
So you do it an amount that you can that you can sleep with. That's on a forced savings. You'll wake up 3 years from now, not 10. 3 years from now, 4 years from now, and you'll say, "Wow, that was really cool. I changed my entire financial picture. Not only have I changed it for now, but I changed it forever." And then,
yeah,
even though we teach no money down on our deals, then if you see a crusher deal, a killer deal when the market changes, or when you find a seller that's in dire needs and they need your help, you do have it available and you're not borrowing it. It's your money. So,
yeah. I think that's the way of having control,
yeah,
really, and understanding, and that it's really a control game. For me, I'm a business owner. I love control, at least some regard, and
agreed.
banks love control too, and they are the most profitable business in the world
Yep.
for a reason. Um, now I know that you're implementing profit first. Some people in real estate. I'm part of the real estate investor group here in Cincinnati, one of the biggest ones. They don't know profit first for real estate. They haven't heard about that. They're just doing deals. They are fixing flips and then they
Yeah.
run out of money. And then other people are like, oh yeah, but I do the my 401k thing. I'll do that. How have you seen, like, again, that profit first system talking to people who think they already know in real estate? They think they already know better than you. They're doing deals. What are things that you just say, okay, they need to figure this out before they start flipping, doing things? What is the one thing that you just say, oh man, this, I wish I could fix this in people?
Well, first of all, you might have opened a little can of worms with me there, because if people like, I love the readers, we speak at a lot of them, but unfortunately, well, maybe fortunately for our company, a lot of people don't know creative financing. So
Hmm.
if you're flipping and you're wholesaling, and please don't misunderstand, I'm not stepping on your toes if you are. I have a lot of friends that are on my podcast, they do that and they have big businesses. But I will tell you, there's a reason I'm doing what I'm doing after 32 years, going on 32nd year, is because those niches do require, not optional, require you to have cash, require you to be at risk, require competition. All those things stack up. But
Hmm.
here's what I would say to answer your question, Brandon, I think, if I'm tracking with you, and that is, look at, I hate to be so blunt, but look at bank accounts and look at success. Like if you
Yeah.
say, well, I can't do that, or I can't do that, or I'm not going to try this, too many RIA groups are stuck in that, or because that's just what they are comfortable with. How about you seek out someone that's in that? You said 20%. I'd even push it and go seek out someone in the top 5%. You can
Yep.
find them online now. That's the beauty. Or you can find their book. You can reach out to them and say, hey, what is it that you're doing differently? And find out
Yeah.
someone in your niche that's using that inside of what we're doing. For example, Mark and I brainstorm all the time with the infinite banking. How can you take the 3 paydays? We have trademarked 3 paydays on every deal. We trademarked it
Yeah.
federally. So how can you utilize the 3 paydays to not only fund policies, but to just stock extra cash away for the future, for family and for business? That it's a really neat thing. So it's almost like a profits first in a profits first, because we
Yeah.
generate
Yeah.
3 paydays and then the book goes into the buckets and then that goes into the infinite banking. it's pretty cool. So I don't know. I think your question's a bigger thing we could explore, but they need to expose themselves to people that are doing that. That's all. I keep
Yeah.
going back to that, I guess.
Well, and I think again, what you're saying, the reason that we're successful and have been is being around the people who are, and success is not always money, in my opinion.
100%
Uh,
agree.
yeah, it is. For me, and wealth is, again, our business is Wealth Wisdom Financial. Money is just one part of it.
Correct.
Right. I have people literally. I was on a call on Saturday. People are like, "Oh yeah, I want to get rid of all my houses. 30 houses I've acquired. I want to get rid of them." And then the next person's goals is, "I can't wait. I'm going to have freedom whenever I have 30 houses." And then
Yep.
a 60-year-old that's like, "I wish I would have done this when I was 27." And a 27-year-old starting a policy and then surrendering the policy because it costs too much
Yeah.
in that. And I'm like, dude, you're 27 years old. You have
Yeah.
no idea what cost
Right.
is. And I'm just like, man, these people need to be in the room together, talk to each other,
Yeah.
maybe cry a little bit, and all of that. So, what are, again? I know the 3 payday system, and if they were, and I feel like people are going into real estate in groves right now, like droves. Um, what's the one thing that you're saying, hey, join this program, learn this? Because I feel like grandmas are joining into real estate and saying, I'm going to be a real estate investor because I watched it
Yeah.
on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's happening a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you say to those people?
Well, real estate's not new, right? In fact, what we're doing with creative real estate, people go, I haven't heard of that. Well, if you haven't heard of it, I'm going to be blunt again. You might be living under a rock because in the 1600s in New York
Yeah.
City before banking, they were doing owner financing and lease purchase. Okay, so it's been around. All we did is wrap a system around it, and most of that system is a support system because most real estate programs are sold by great marketers. They are. The people
Yeah.
market online or on TV, and you're buying them. Here's the challenge with that. There's no back end to that, meaning there's no one holding your hand and going, oh, yeah, I just told you how to do that on that show or on that platform, but no one's holding interactive involvement on that and getting deals done. That's what we do. I'm not going to be so naive to say nobody does it, but there's not someone at our level on a national level, and now we're into Canada, that are doing it and doing it where they hold the hand with the student and they all these nuances that come up after you leave the Rosie seminar and the woman
Yeah.
fuzzy
Yeah.
seminar, all the things that come
Yeah.
up, we're there to help them because they come up. That's just called life. And real estate's never, I've been at this in my 32nd year, as they said, and I will tell you that every week there's a cool twist to a deal or a pivot or a seller challenge or whatever that's new. And so if I'm
Yeah.
feeling that, man, when you take that first course, you're going to feel it. So you need to make sure you're in a community like that. That's all.
Yeah. I, again, as I talk to some of the similar people that are there, just saying, how do we overcome it? How do we deal with it? And oftentimes, how do you solve the problem? How do you help everybody that has a problem in some regard? What do we do to make it solvable? And there's usually a solution to that. I do got to tell you, whenever I bought this office condo, I don't know if it was yeah, like really, I went to the bank saying I want to buy this, and I used my policy for most of the mortgage there to have this, and then it brought down my costs and taxes because I own it personally.
Right.
Business is paying me rent, and I wish personally, I'm like, man, I couldn't buy a house because the banks wouldn't give it to me because I was a business owner.
Of course.
And if I would have known you guys 5 years ago, or no, it's more, yeah, whenever we were moving, I would have probably moved 2 years sooner because I didn't know. I just thought, hey, you got to go to the bank and that's how you make it work.
Brandon,
Um,
you're not alone. I mean, I did that and I was in the business for the first 18 years. So if you're listening and you get nothing else out of what you possibly could do combining infinite banking and creative real estate, know that if you do nothing else than what Brandon did and you buy your own house, which my daughter and son-in-law did their first house like that because like you, they were self-employed and weren't bankable.
yeah,
If you do nothing else but those two things, then you got to win because you have a skill set for life, infinite
Yeah.
banking and creative real estate for life. We can't take it away from you. We can teach it. And if you don't ever talk to us again, you got it for life.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's so fun when people are asking, what do you do? Are you in commercial real estate? I'm like, yes,
Right.
because I own my office condo, and I've also learned I don't want to own much real estate, mainly because of flooding issues and things like that. How have you overcome that in um, deals? A lot of times people are saying, well, I don't want to be the landlord,
Yeah.
and I know you guys focus on a different kind of way,
Yeah.
where you don't have to deal with some of that.
Yeah, you did the end result right there. We're not landlords. We put people in the home that are like you, like my daughter and son-in-law, that aren't bankable right now, and that could be for their own business reasons, like you. Could be
Hmm.
for credit reasons. It could be the credit got beat up because of COVID, death, divorce, all of these life things that happen to people. Here's a stat
Yeah.
for you to put a bow on this. About 82% of the population right now, if you threw a blanket over all the buyers, about 82% of them can't qualify for a loan today. That's a big number.
How many?
82%.
82%?
Yeah, I talked to
Oh,
any
wow.
top mortgage brokers that are doing hundreds of loans right now, and they'll tell
Yeah.
you at best 18% of their applications can get qualified right now. That's different from a year or two ago, but it's always high. It's always very
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
So that tells you that the demand for them is huge. So we put them in a home. We treat them like a buyer. They behave like a buyer. They treat the home like a buyer while they're getting through the system to get qualified eventually for their own loan. That's what we do with buyers.
Gotcha. Uh, and in the line of deal making and knowing where we're at in time right now, and I know people try and ask me this, um, of where we think things are going. We're
Yeah.
not the Fed. We are. Um, COVID happens, aliens happen. Who knows what's going to
Yeah.
happen tomorrow? But where are you thinking that in the next year or so that we need to be building a good foundation for whatever's coming? Is it going to be easy, hard? Where do you think things are going to go in the next five,
Well,
10 years?
obviously I'm biased, Brandon, but creative real estate is, you said earlier, it's hot demand right now for real estate, but in particular, the niche of creative. Why? A bunch of reasons, but just for time's sake, you got for the third time in 50 years a major affordability issue because what's going on with interest rates that pushes a lot of
Mm-hmm.
buyers to the street, and without us, they can't have a home. I'm just being very broad with this.
Yeah.
Third, the 50-year interest rate average is like 7.7. I don't think we're there today, and there's already a major affordability issue. So what's going to happen if and when that creeps
Mm-hmm.
up a little more? Writings on the wall. So a lot of these things, anytime there's chaos or uncertainty, and that's what's going on right now,
Yeah.
the buyers and sellers need a guide, and the guide is in creative real estate. If you understand the skill set, and once you do, you can pivot in any market. So it's none of this. Oh, well, I'll wait till the market goes down and I'll buy. I'll wait till the market. Wait, I'll wait. I'll wait. I'll wait. I'll wait. I have friends that do that forever. Doctors. No,
Yeah.
you're never gonna be. You're never gonna be in the market. Yet if you know how to pivot in any market, up, down, sideways, doesn't matter. That's the key. And that demand for the creative real estate is going up, up, up. About 3% of the transactions in early 90s were done outside of banks. I don't know. It's hard to find that stat now, but it's up in the teens. It's higher,
Yeah.
and it's growing. So creative real estate is really in hot demand right now.
And the other thing I've been thinking about is, and we've thought about this a lot and created a acronym. So the world is in, as you brought up, chaos. It's confusing, haphazard, anxious, overwhelming, and stressful.
I love it.
Uh,
You're gonna
Banks
email
do
me
that
that.
on purpose, right?
Yeah.
Chaos, tax code, chaos. Figuring all this out, why you need a guide, why you need somebody like Chris and us in your corner is to figure out how to avoid the chaos. Life is chaos. Things are going to happen, ski accidents, crisis, right?
Yeah.
So again, confusing, haphazard, anxious, overwhelming, and stressful.
Can you
But
email me that? I love that. I'm gonna have to
oh,
use that.
sure.
I'll give you credit.
Uh, oh, for sure. Yeah, well, we are going to write a book,
All
right?
right, great.
The inverse of chaos is still, and that is set your sights, track your in and out, inspect your progress, look for 1% adjustments, and live deliberately.
Love it.
The problem is we don't like have the time. And you said this. You take 3 months, every 3 months, to meet with a guide, probably multiple of them,
Yep.
right? And other people are like running through life and saying, I got to hurry up. But you go back and you look at your goals. You set your sights again and say, all right, here we are. Let's track where we go. And then you did that over and over again. And you've created a rhythm of that in your life for your business. And
Yep.
so what I want you guys to hear is deal making isn't just making the big deal. That is important and having the right guides, but it's doing the practice of, regularly going back to your goals. Why are you doing this? Right? I don't know. Sometimes it might look good on paper and it's a crappy deal.
Yep.
Um, yeah. Anything you want to end here? I know we're going long here, but I've been excited to have you on. I
I
know
appreciate it.
we have a lot of good connections. I got this book.
There you go.
Totally. You guys get this book. One of my friends is on this one, Brian O'Neill. I think you know
Yep.
him.
I'll tell you what I'll
Um,
do. We'll give all your listeners both of those hard copies you just held up, totally free. They don't have to go to Amazon. Hey, if you want to go buy 10 on Amazon, you can, but I'm going to give you one for free. Just go to wickedsmartbooks.com/wisdom. So it's specifically for Brandon's and his tribe. And we'll get those out to you. Just give us a little time. We'll also come with a free ticket to our next live event. I'd love to meet you. And Brandon, maybe you guys will be there because we tried to make that happen already.
Oh, we will make it next time. I
Love it.
wanted to go, but it was, when you have a 4-year-old
I get
and
it.
mother-in-law. So if you go, guys, go to wickedsmartbooks.com/wisdom, and you will be able to see that. And let me share my screen real quick because you can see it here. And I know, here we go. Wicked Smart.
Just for your group.
wickedsmartbooks.com.
Love it.
Yep. And looking forward to having you again on here. Let us know any way we can serve. Again, guys, that he didn't share like giant, like rattling things. It's like have a mentor, know your numbers, like, and when things get hard, get back up.
Yep.
That's kind of, I feel like that's in essence what we talked about today. So, um, thanks, Chris, and thanks for
Thank
being
you.
awesome and continuing on your journey here. It has been amazing to see you grow, even the short time that we've been around. I've just been excited to be a part of it and learn not only from Mark. Mark's connected to you. I think it's been like 4 years now or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And some of our clients that are in your room next door that you're going to say hi to.
Love it.
So,
Yep, love it.
With that, thanks, guys, for being here. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and share this. And don't forget, go make some deals happen. Be the person that is the deal maker, not the person that's letting the deals go by. And you are all making deals. I swear I have a 4-year-old that's doing deal making all the time with me. And I'm like, oh, come on now.
My guy.
Stop it here. Oh my gosh. It's all about these. How do I figure out how to get my way? That's deal making. Cool. Well, we'll see you guys next time, and you guys have a great one.